Texas loses its lawsuit on the federal level, or at least that's how it's presented by the mainstream media. So we'll look into a little bit of how that actually worked and how that goes. A rally in Washington, D.C. to help stop the steal gets interrupted once again by Antifa down on the street. Andy Cuomo is possibly looking down the barrel of another Me Too accusation, and Cleveland is about to drop the Indians' name after 105 years. I'm Jay Edgar, and this is Contemporary. Good morning, folks. Welcome to Contemporary. My name is Jay Edgar. Full of technical issues as usual here, but we've got the live chat up. We've got a bunch to get to today. This is a full show. I couldn't believe it when I started looking back and reviewing over everything that we had going on this weekend. It was amazing. The Texas lawsuit, Cuomo. There's more Hunter Biden shit. The Indians. It's not, what do we have at 24, 25 articles up here? There's a lot to go to. And a lot of this is going to carry over onto the show tonight too, so hope you guys can come by and join me for that. And before I get into the selling of the wares here at the beginning here, I just wanted to bring something up to everyone's attention off of this. This is another one of those big tweets that I got a bunch of traction off of. And it was out of a bunch of real nobodies and some replies that went along with it. So Forgotten Man tweeted out yesterday, Joe received only 35 million votes. President Trump was elected with over 90 million votes. This will be proven before January 15th of 2021. Now, I can probably believe that Joe Biden got 35 million votes. I could believe that the number was that low. I really could. But of course, Carol came out and said, in another universe that runs parallels to ours, maybe he did. However, in this reality, he lost by over 7 million votes and needs to accept it and move on. Which is fine. I mean, if that's going to be what it is that the courts say, then that's what it's going to be. We need to look back and start looking into this and figuring out what to do, make sure our affairs are in order, because there is going to be a crash and a depression coming. But I've got questions. Now, Susan Wojcicki, I'm going to come out and tell you that this election was done very, very fairly and above board. There was no evidence of any sort of voter fraud anywhere. Wink, wink, honk, honk. Nothing. No, everything was completely above board here. But just in case it wasn't above board, for whatever reason whatsoever anyway, I asked the question. I mean, I understand that's what the media is telling you, and by all rights, it could be true. It's by all rights. But I have a lot of questions. Statistically, it doesn't make sense. Biden underperformed Hillary everywhere except 7 counties and overcame every statistical bellwether. And that seemed to be where everybody stopped paying attention because I got all this, well, everyone just hated Trump and Biden didn't underperform Hillary. He outperformed her by a lot. Yeah, in the popular vote he did. But that was held up by 7 counties across the country. But yeah, it was, for the most part, people telling me, just don't question it. Stop questioning it already. Well, when people are telling you not to question something, I'm going to question it even more because there's a reason you don't want me looking that close into it. But that's what I had off that. I thought you guys would enjoy that. So go over there and check that out. All right. And we got a bunch of news to get to as well. But before we get into that, head on over to freedomscoop.com. Freedomscoop.com is going to be your one-stop shop for all of your news and commentary needs, carrying great shows such as The Generational Gap, The Daily Ignoramus, The R-Rated Conservative, The Freckles and Brit Show, The Breakdown with Birkenhoff, and more. Come on over there, pick up some of our swag, and help us support great creators. And at some point here, I actually do have to get Elaine's website up here on the morning opening too. She just released a new shirt over on gunmomfashion.com, so go over there and check that out as well. All right, let's look into the stocks here for the day. Starting with the chart, and it looks like after a mostly down day on Friday, the Dow broke even just slightly, up 0.16% to bring us back up over the 30,000 mark, 30,046.37. Where is that going to take us? It looks like the futures are going to be up because the vaccine and the Electoral College is going to vote today, so that little bit of uncertainty is going to be gone. And we don't have these pending lawsuits hanging out over us. So let's see what they have to say about that. Coming up from Investors Business Daily, Dow Jones futures rise as coronavirus vaccine era begins for market rally. Tesla in focus. AMD, Shopify near buy points. From Ed Carson, Dow Jones futures rose solidly Monday morning along with S&P 500 futures and Nasdaq futures, with Pfizer and BioNTech coronavirus vaccine immunizations set to start today. Extended Brexit talks also buoyed investors. AMD, Shopify, Tesla are in focus. Yep, Brexit's back up there again. Oi, mate, we're going to vote on this again, and you're going to vote right this time, okay? Hey, no, you're not going to vote for Brexit. You're going to vote the right way. Even if we only have to give you one choice on the ballot, you're going to vote the right way, okay, bloke? Last week, the stock market rally got a small dose of reality. The Nasdaq tumbled Wednesday, led by growth names, but they rebounded Thursday for the week. The major indices ended with only modest losses. Most leading stocks held up well. AMD, Shopify, PayPal, Intuitive Surgical, and 10x Genomics are all forming handles of various sorts. Shopify stock, 10x Genomics, and Intuitive Surgical stock have formed traditional handles. AMD and PayPal have formed high handles, right at the top of buy zones. Meanwhile, Tesla CEO Elon Musk said in the now common end-of-quarter leaked email to staff that the electric car maker has a high-class problem of too much demand. However, Tesla reportedly will shut down some Fremont, California production for a few weeks, while also offering free supercharging to spur Model 3 and Y sales. AstraZeneca agreed to buy Alexion Pharmaceuticals for $39 billion in cash and stock, adding a rare disease specialist to the drug giant's portfolio. The deal values ALXN stocks at $175 a share, a 45% premium to Friday's close. AstraZeneca fell, while Alexion soared. The Russian government hackers who breached cybersecurity firm FireEye also hacked the Treasury and Commerce Departments and other U.S. government agencies. The Washington Post reported, citing sources. They reportedly hacked their way in via network management system SolarWinds. The Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency on Monday urged all federal and civilian agencies to cut off SolarWinds Orion products. SolarWinds stock tumbled early on Monday. Well, yeah, that's your government picking winners and losers. Of course it's going to tumble. The government told you it wasn't safe. Tesla, AMD, and PayPal are all on the IBD leaderboard, while 10x Genomics is on the leaderboard watch list. PayPal is on the IBD long-term leaders. AMD stock and PayPal are on the IBD 50 list. Now, can the stock market rally hold above some key short-term levels? Probably. In the short term, it probably can. But I'm looking forward to the long term, wondering what's going to happen if we get this big extended lockdown that they keep talking about giving to us. So we'll have to see. Pay attention. Make sure your affairs are in order. That's the best thing you can do right now. Make sure that if for whatever reason you have to get cut from your job and they're running on a skeleton crew, which a lot of them are, that you can still hold your head above water. Get a little garden, pick up canning, stuff like that, because it's coming. It's coming. And Joe Biden is going to say, "Come on, man, I got hairy legs," because that's all he knows how to say. But Kamala Harris will come out and say, this is the Trump economy kicking in right here, that we're in a depression. We're trying to claw you back from that depression, but this is a Trump economy, okay? So prepare for that. Let's see what CNBC has to say. Dow futures jumped 200 points to start the week on a vaccine stimulus hopes. From Maggie Fitzgerald. U.S. stock futures moved higher early Monday as markets indicated a rebound from a losing week. Investors were optimistic as the COVID-19 vaccine rollout began and Washington appeared a bit closer to hatching some sort of stimulus this week. Dow Jones Industrial Average rose 242 points, or 0.8%. The move pointed to an opening gain of more than 225 points. S&P 500 futures rose 0.7%, and Nasdaq 100 futures gained 0.5%. A bipartisan stimulus plan could be introduced in Congress as soon as Monday, but split into two parts in order to improve its chances of approval. Reuters reported the $908 billion bipartisan plan would be split into a $748 billion measure with money for jobless and small business and another part that includes the controversial measure including liability protections and state aid, Reuters said, citing a source. Yeah, they're going to deny the liability protection. They're going to find a way to get it. That's why they're doing this right now. They're going to get the money out there, put that into a rare single issue bill, and then throw the liability protection under the bus, which we wouldn't have to worry about if all of these were single issue bills to begin with. And McConnell, you should not be sticking pork into a stimulus bill. We shouldn't be spending stimulus money either way, but you should not be sticking pork into a stimulus bill because you make it okay for your little friends over on the left to do the same fucking thing. And we're going to talk a bit more about that when we talk about this Texas case too. Anything you do in Washington makes it okay for your opponents to do the same. Ask Harry Reid how that worked out with judicial nominees. Politically, debate continues on another fiscal bill, which is much needed for much of the population, but will also create an even larger wall of cash for consumers to spend as economies fully reopen. Tavis McCourt, institutional equity strategist at Raymond James, told clients on Sunday, "You don't have the money for this. You don't have the money to bail out the companies either. I hope you know this. I hope somebody's paying attention to the national debt that is pushing on $30 trillion. After we had the orange man stand up on the campaign and said, the national debt's got to go away. I got to fix this, and I'm going to fix this. I'm going to be the best president. We're going to get rid of the national debt. It's going to be gone, okay? And instead, we got $8 trillion off of that. And pay attention, because it's going to go further, and it's going to go faster. And I'm going to laugh at everybody who cashed their stimulus check too, by the way, because they have no right to complain at that point. They cashed the money that drove that debt up. All right, so that's what we're seeing off of that here. Futures are up because it looks like the government's going to spend your money and give it back to you. And taxation somehow still isn't theft. All right, let's get into the news. From the Hill starting out. Supreme Court rejects Texas's push to overturn Biden victory. From John Krusel. The Supreme Court on Friday rejected a widely panned bid by Texas to overturn President-elect Joe Biden's election win, delivering a devastating blow to the long-shot legal campaign waged by President Trump and his allies since his electoral defeat. It's not an electoral defeat yet, not until later on today. The ruling was a repudiation to Trump, as well as the 18 GOP state attorneys general and 126 House Republicans who had backed the lawsuit. The challenge sought to nullify Biden's wins in Wisconsin, Michigan, Georgia, and Pennsylvania, key battleground states, that he won while amassing 306 electoral votes. In a brief, unsigned order, Friday, rejecting the petition, the court made clear its view that Texas lacked the legal right to litigate over how other states conduct their elections. Texas has not demonstrated judicially cognizable interest in the manner in which another state conducts its elections, the ruling states. All other pending motions are dismissed as moot. Justices Clarence Thomas and Samuel Alito wrote a dissenting statement expressing their view that the court is obligated to hear interstate disputes. Which is true. It is. That's the bad part of this. Aside from this jurisdictional disagreement, however, those two more conservative justices indicated they joined the court's 7 other members in siding against Texas. In my view, we do not have the discretion to deny the filing of a bill of complaint in a case that falls within our original jurisdiction, wrote Alito, joined by Thomas. I would therefore grant the motion to file the bill of complaint, but would not grant other relief, and I express no view on any other issue. So let's talk about this for a second, because this is actually very important. Coming up, not for this election. I would love to see the Supreme Court come back and overturn this, because I do believe that this election was completely above board. There's no evidence of fraud, and Susan Wojcicki and WikiWiki can't do anything about the way that I actually believe, but I'm not going to say out loud on the microphone. However, when I look at this, I looked at this case. This case was skirting dangerously close to a judicial reach around of Article 2, Section 1, giving federal jurisdiction over local elections, including the local presidential election. That is supposed to be done and decided on a state level. Now, technically, this would not affect that because there wouldn't be a constitutional amendment to do that. But we've seen where people like Nancy Pelosi and her predecessors on the Democrat side, on the speakership of the House, have looked at a judicial decision. How this country has looked at a judicial decision and used that to go even further, to take it even further, and to use that as a precedent in order to get their agenda. I would sacrifice 4 years of having to listen to, "That's the summer I learned about roaches," in order to make sure that we do not get federal control over local elections. And I don't know if the Supreme Court hearing this would change that, but I know it would be skirting dangerously close to that concept. And that is something we need to pay attention to. Because once the federal government has control over these elections, you know one side's going to look at this and figure out, well, now I found a way to make sure that I stay in power forever. Whereas if they are 50 autonomous elections, we can maintain at least the illusion of integrity. Now, we're losing that illusion right now, but we can at least maintain the illusion of integrity. So I'm very split on this. Now, with that being said, should the Supreme Court have heard this? I'm a little disappointed that they didn't. Because I wanted to see what the case was laid out. I wanted to see the documents. I wanted to hear the attorneys present the case and at least shoot their shot. But it seems that the entire Supreme Court, including those evil Trump lackeys, you know, the evil ones that were going to do Trump's bidding and whatever he told them to do, Amy Coney Barrett, Neil Gorsuch, Brett Kavanaugh, the evil ones, it appears that even they looked at the constitutionality of this and said, I don't want to go anywhere near this. So, a big split on this. I don't know. I can see both sides of this. I'm going to come right out and say it. But as of right now, it's over. All right. Speaking of election, let's look at what happened here in Wisconsin. Fail as a matter of law and fact, Trump loses federal Wisconsin case while arguing another before state Supreme Court in a rare Sunday session. From Scott Bauer over at the Chicago Tribune. There it is. President Trump lost a federal lawsuit Saturday while his attorney was arguing his case before a skeptical Wisconsin Supreme Court in another lawsuit that liberal justices say smacks of racism. Because of course it is. It can't be anything other than racism because it involves Milwaukee. Not as much Madison as you would think. But definitely because it involves Milwaukee, it's got to be automatically racism because, you know, reasons. And would disenfranchise hundreds of thousands of voters only in the state's most diverse counties. U.S. District Judge Brett Ludwig, a Trump appointee, dismissed Trump's federal lawsuit, asking the court to order the Republican-controlled legislature to name Trump the winner over Democrat Joe Biden. That's an argument. It was a loose one, but that's an argument because that stays at the state level. The judge said Trump's argument failed as a matter of law and fact. The ruling came as Trump attorney Jim Troupis faced a barrage of questions about his claims from both liberal and conservative justices on the Wisconsin Supreme Court. Troupis asked the court to toss more than 221,000 absentee ballots, including his own, saying they were cast fraudulently based on incorrect interpretations of the law by elections officials. Which is a fair point, because our legislature never voted on an expansion of absentee voting. That came straight from the executive mansion. Technically, by the U.S. Constitution and by the state constitution, the expansion of mail-in voting should be null and void. What you want us to do is overturn the election so that your king can stay in power, said liberal Justice Jill Karofsky. That is so un-American. Well, no, I just want to see everything get shored up so we don't have to argue about this in 2024. Conservative justices appear to be sympathetic to some issues raised by Trump, but also question how they could fairly disqualify ballots only in the 2 counties where Trump sought a recount and not other counties where the same procedures were followed. Biden attorney John Devaney said tossing any ballots in those or just those 2 counties would be a violation of the Constitution's Equal Protection Clause, which is also a fair point. Trump is challenging ballots only in Milwaukee and Dane counties, the state's most liberal counties, with the largest non-white populations. He's not challenging any votes in more conservative counties where he won. This lawsuit, Mr. Trupis, smacks of racism, Karofsky said, because that's the only word that she knows. I do not know how you can come before this court and possibly ask for a remedy that is unheard of in U.S. history. It is not normal. Justice Rebecca Dillette, another liberal justice, questioned why Trump didn't raise his same concerns about the absentee ballot process in the 2016 election that he won in Wisconsin. Trupis said Trump was not an aggrieved party that year. And they didn't have an executive expansion of it that year either. That's the problem. It's the executive expansion, not necessarily the absentee process. But that one's over here in Wisconsin. I don't see a path for Trump. I want to come out and say this because it's not been said enough. We are used to, in this country, a GOP that's just going to roll over and let the progressives do whatever the fuck they want. Constantly. That's what we're used to in this country. While I don't think that they have the avenues to do it currently, as they stand, without violating the Constitution, I'm glad that they're fighting. I'm glad that they're looking. Because if it went the other way, had the incumbent not conceded, of course, but if it had gone the other way, wouldn't you think the left would be doing the same thing, looking for every avenue? I mean, we saw the articles back in 2016 as we were going through, and this is after Hillary conceded. Well, this is how Hillary could possibly still win the election. This is how Bernie could still possibly win this election. Read below, and a lot of it was clickbait bullshit, but the hope was always there to go out and try to find a way to challenge this, to make sure that your king or queen, in the case of it was, gets into the office. And I know the other side would be doing the same thing, because we watched it happen for 4 years. And as I always say on everything when it comes to politics, the first thing that everybody should do when you want to criticize somebody in politics is flip the parties and see if you'd feel the same way if it was the other party doing the same thing. So, that's what's happening in Wisconsin. Let's flip back over to the Hill. Barr knew about federal probes into Hunter Biden's financial dealings in the spring. Wall Street Journal from Zach Budrick. Attorney General William Barr was aware of federal investigations into President-elect Joe Biden's son Hunter Biden before the presidential election and took pains to ensure they were not made public, the Wall Street Journal reported on Thursday. A person familiar with the matter told the newspaper that Barr avoided providing information on the probes to congressional Republicans, but did not offer further details. Yeah, isn't it amazing now that we're seeing all these newspapers come out and say, well, Hunter Biden he may have had some unkind dealings with the Ukraine and China. You don't say. Weird. It's like we knew about a laptop back in October. And we knew about the Ukraine phone call back in fucking December of last year. The report comes the same week that Hunter Biden announced that the U.S. Attorney's Office in Delaware is investigating his tax affairs. The former vice president's son said that he was informed of the probes when his lawyer was advised of the investigation by federal prosecutors. 2 people familiar with the matter also told the newspaper that federal prosecutors in Manhattan are also investigating his business and finances. The president-elect is not suspected of wrongdoing and has not been implicated in either investigation. Really? The big guy has not been implicated? You say? That's what you're telling me? I have questions. I have lots of questions. In the lead up to the election, President Trump and his congressional allies repeatedly pressed Barr to appoint a special prosecutor to investigate Hunter Biden, with Trump saying Barr has got to appoint somebody. This is major corruption, and this has to be known about before the election. In his July 2019 phone call with the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, Trump allegedly requested that Ukrainian officials investigate the Bidens. Not necessarily true, but okay. The president said that he would put both Barr and his personal attorney, Rudy Giuliani, in touch with the foreign leader. Yeah, that was probably a mistake, the second one. Trump was later impeached over the conversation on no legal standing. Biden's transition team issued a statement shortly before the subpoena saying the former vice president was deeply proud of his son, who has fought through difficult challenges, including vicious personal attacks of recent months, only to emerge stronger. Yeah, crack is a hell of a fucking drug. But once again, we look back at this, we look at the situation, and we saw so many people focusing on the hookers and Malia Obama's allegedly foot and the porn and all this, and not looking at the financial dealings, which were hidden by Barr. There's some major swamp shit going on with this. And people, like, a bunch of people are coming out too and saying, oh, if I'd have known about the Hunter Biden thing, I wouldn't have voted. Or, what the hell was her name? The feminist authored lady. If I'd have known that he was for lockdowns, I wouldn't have voted for him. Well, here you go. So that's what we're seeing out of that. Let's see what the Daily Wire has to say. GOP Senator. Hunter Biden's attorneys are not cooperating with the investigation. From Hank Berrien. On Sunday, Senator Ron Johnson spoke with Maria Bartiromo on Fox News and stated that attorneys for Hunter Biden were not cooperating with his investigation into Biden's business dealings. Johnson spoke of various people in his reply, including Devon Archer, a former business associate of Hunter Biden's who served with him on the board of Burisma Holdings Ltd., Rob Walker and James Giller, who reportedly had a partial holding in a planned venture with Hunter and James Biden, known as Sinohawk Holdings, with the Chinese oil company CEFC China Energy Co. Gongwen Dong, an emissary for the CEFC chairman Yi Jinming, and Yi Jinming himself. Bartiromo started by asking, "You've been investigating this for over a year, and I want to get your take on what we know here. You put a press statement out this week basically showing all the requests that you have put out there for Hunter Biden and his associates. Have you gotten any response? Where are we on that investigation, sir?" Johnson replied, "We've only got a response from Hunter and Devon's attorney, not to cooperate. Nobody else has even responded to us. That contrasts, I think, sharply with, for example, President Trump's children and his associates that voluntarily submitted to literally hundreds of hours of transcribed interviews that turned over thousands of documents, didn't require a subpoena in most cases. So I don't know why Hunter Biden and Devon Archer and their associates, Rob Walker, James Gilliar, why they're basically hiding in the weeds." I know why. Pick me, I know why. "Yeah," Bartiromo said, then turned to Hunter Biden's alleged business deals. "Let me show you a list of some of the deals that we've talked about in the past, and these deals include deals with China. And of course, we've been talking about how the Communist Chinese Party tries to bribe and blackmail people in the U.S. so they can approve laws that are positive to China. Are you expecting a potential incoming administration that changes policy against China? Because of all these deals that we hear about, we just saw the $1 billion that Hunter had taken from the Bank of China to try and come up with a hedge fund to invest in Chinese companies, Senator." "Yeah, it's a huge concern," Johnson responded. So, yeah. I mean, can this affect the way that the electors vote at this point? I'm very curious about this and whether the House intervenes on this because of this. This is bad. This is not good. And as I've suspected before, I know we sat back and we saw Pete Buttigieg, who was winning at the time, and every other candidate drop out right before North Carolina, sealing the deal for Joe Biden over Bernie Sanders. Sealing the deal instantly for Joe Biden through the rest of the country, and the rest of the country fell in line behind Joe Biden. And now they did anything that they could to make sure that he got to the presidency where he can't be investigated. I don't care about the Bidens anymore because Joe is practically dead, but I do have to wonder how many other people in D.C. had their hands in this cookie jar, because I'm willing to bet that it's a lot. I'm willing to bet that there are a ton of people who had their hand in this same Sinohawk cookie jar that were out to make massive buttloads of money off of this. And I want to see where this ends. That is, I mean, I'm right on with the Senate on this one. I'm with the Senate GOP in saying that we do need to have a special counsel on this, because otherwise this is just going to go away. And nobody's going to say a fucking word about it either. You know, that was the thing that went along with the Mueller probe. Well, Trump, he's tweeting out, he's going to fire Mueller and then we're never going to know the answer. Oh my God, it's going to be so evil. He's going to be a dictator, don't you know? He's going to be a dictator. He's going to fire Mueller. He's going to stay in power forever. He's never going to leave the White House. What do we do? What do we do? And yet, I've got this feeling that if Biden comes in and fires Durham and then fires whoever is prosecuting the Hunter cases, well, it's just a matter of legal process. He's got the right to do that, don't you know? He's so brave, doing whatever he can to protect his son. So brave, so amazing. Everything he does is perfect. So, that's what we're seeing here. Let's keep going. We've got one from NPR here, where they talk like this, and we'll do some NPR reading about 4 stabbed and 33 arrested after Trump supporters and counter-protesters clash in D.C. This is from Jason Slotkin, Suzanne Nguyen, and James Dubeck. Because whenever people gather in Washington, D.C. that have any sort of rightward bent, or anywhere else that's mostly left-wing, Antifa has to show up. And it's always peaceful at the beginning of the day. And then it turns to what we're seeing from this article. Should I read it like this the whole way through? Should I really talk to you like this, like they do on NPR? Are any of you driving that will drive off the road? If it was me talking like this, to put you to sleep like this. Alright, I can't do that for the whole article. So let's see what's going on in here. Thousands of President Trump supporters, 4 weeks after a similar protest, flocked to the nation's capital for a protest in support of the president and his false claims of a stolen election. Yeah, that's real objective, NPR. By Saturday night, clashes between rally-goers and counter-protesters escalated into violence, with 4 people stabbed and 33 people arrested into Sunday morning. 9 people were transported to hospitals, according to Washington, D.C.'s Fire and EMS Department. 2 of the 9 were police officers, with injuries that were not life-threatening. Several groups attended last month's protest. Nope. First off, fuck you for putting an ad in front of my screen while I'm reading here. Second off, independent journalism. Everything you have comes from the government, NPR. You are not independent journalism. Alright, let's try that again. Several groups that attended last month's protest march. Again, on Saturday, those included the Proud Boys, a self-proclaimed Western chauvinist organization known for violent Known for violent confrontations with left-wing protesters. What? It's considered a hate group by the SPLC. That's what I have to say about the SPLC. On Saturday evening, Proud Boys and counter-protesters were facing off in scattered skirmishes downtown. Police tried to separate the two sides. Counter-protesters also clashed with police at times. The DCist reported. But it's the Proud Boys that's the problem. You know, Antifa, and they won't say them by name either. They're counter-protesters is what they are. They clash with police. And you're calling the Proud Boys the problem? I'm interested to see how you square that fucking circle. A total of 9 injured people were transported from DC's downtown to hospitals after 7 p.m. The fire department said. Police said Sunday that 33 people were arrested between Saturday into Sunday morning on charges including simple assault, possession of a prohibited weapon, assault on a police officer, crossing a police line, assault with a dangerous weapon, and other charges. Reporter Jenny Gothright of NPR member station WAMU observed members of the Proud Boys marching through Freedom Plaza earlier Saturday. Some of them were holding up white power symbols. Yeah, about that. Well, it looks like we've got some video for this. Let's have a look at what's going on with that.
Hey, turn around.
Alright, so that's what we're seeing from that. On Saturday morning, a White House spokesman confirmed that the group gathered in D.C., one of its leaders, Enrique Tarrio, took a public tour of the White House. Tarrio posted about his visit to the right-wing social media app Parler. You know, it wouldn't be right-wing if the rest of you guys would go over there, try it out. But of course, I'm saying this as a person who doesn't have a Parler. The White House says that Tarrio did not meet with the president, nor was he specifically invited. Tarrio said the visit shows we've come a long way. And there are some more pictures off of that. Proud Boys in kilts, dozens of them gathering downtown now today for March for Trump. Why the kilts? I don't get it. So that's some of the scenes that go along with that. I got one more from a local affiliate of NBC to go along with this. From 4 NBC Washington, 4 stabbed, 33 arrested as Trump supporters counter-protesters clash in downtown D.C. From NBC Washington staff. Let's cut this autoplay even though the volume is gone. 9 people have been injured, including 4 who were stabbed, and at least 33 arrests have been made during the volatile night of clashes between supporters of President Trump and counter-protesters in Washington, D.C. Saturday night's chaotic scenes follow a day of rallies that brought crowds of Trump supporters to town in late afternoon. Police said that beyond minor scuffles, there had been no major acts of violence or criminal activity as of late afternoon. After sunset, however, tense moments began to unfold, with sporadic clashes breaking out between Trump supporters and counter-protesters. Name them. Name the counter-protesters. Officers attempted to keep members from opposing groups separated. D.C. police tells News 4 that 33 arrests made Saturday in downtown Washington amounted to the most protest-related arrests in a single day since August 13 during the St. George protests. Metropolitan police officers and D.C. fire and EMS crews were called to the 500 block of 11th Street Northwest for the report of a stabbing involving demonstrators. The 4 victims were all transported with critical injuries but are expected to survive, D.C. Fire and EMS said. Philip Johnson of Northwest D.C., 29, was charged with assault with a dangerous weapon in connection to the quadruple stabbing. D.C. police said Johnson was the assault victim. Police said was transported from the area of the stabbings with non-life-threatening injuries. D.C. confirms 4 victims stabbed, transported in critical condition. Why would you open a new window for that? Come on, man. Come on, man. So they're just going to show the emergency vehicles. Apparently the person with the knife is hashtag BLM. Doesn't surprise me. Innocent until proven guilty. But it doesn't surprise me. At least 33 people were arrested in relation to the unrest Saturday evening, said the office of D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser and the D.C. police. The arrests include the following: 11 simple assaults, 10 assaults on a police officer, 6 disorderly conduct incidents, 4 riotous acts, 2 charged in crossing a police line, 2 weapons violations, possession of prohibited weapon, 2 release violations, 1 out-of-state failure to appear, 1 as a fugitive of justice, 1 assault with a deadly weapon, 1 resisting arrest, and a partridge in a pear tree. DC Fire and EMS reports has no additional transports since last Saturday night. So, it's always peaceful in DC until the sun goes down. And I don't know that much about the Proud Boys, but I do feel like, I know guys like that, and a lot of them would be just as satisfied sitting in the basement playing video games. I don't see them being instigators of shit. Because of the type of the guy that they attract. Now, I could be wrong. I've never interacted with them in my life. We don't have Proud Boys where I live. I mean, if you go up to Madison, sometimes you'll find Proud Boys, but that's a completely different thing. So I don't know. But it does seem like once the bandanas and the handkerchiefs go on the faces of the people clad in black, that's when the shit starts to happen. But I hope that everybody recovers, gets home okay, that nobody's seriously hurt off of this, and the voices get heard. Let's keep going. I did see that Flancourt, by the way. I've seen the original picture, too. I'm going to ask Elaine about that on the show tonight. All right, from the Blaze. Report: Biden will exercise any trace of Team Trump in the White House after inauguration. The Bidens are taking no chances. From Chris Enlow. Team Joe Biden plans to purge any trace of President Trump and the Trump administration from the White House upon Biden's impending inauguration next month. According to the Daily Mail, media declared President-elect Joe Biden is insisting that the 55,000 square feet that sit atop 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue are thoroughly disinfected prior to the Biden family moving into the residence. I wonder, what would the media be saying if a member of the Trump team said that about the Obama family? Because I bet you that would be a much, much bigger scandal. I got this feeling that there would be the R word tossed around if that were to happen that way. But of course, flip the parties. The report said that the cleaning team will wear hazmat suits to clean the property. Upon Trump's departure, the cleaners will disinfect the entire property, which will reportedly include removing furniture and even carpets. There is a 5-hour window between the presidents. That's when 95 staff will have to pack up all the Trump possessions and move the Bidens in. They will clean or replace everything, White House historian Kate Anderson Brower said. The Daily Mail reporting. The incoming president and first lady get to choose their new furniture from a secret warehouse. A Biden transition team member told the Daily Mail that the rigorous cleaning will be, in part, a response to what they considered a haphazard response by Trump to the coronavirus. In fact, the official said the White House residence and executive office will be cleaned so thoroughly that any trace of Trump will be removed. Once again, flip the parties and tell me what would have happened if this had been the Trump transition team talking about moving the Bidens out and disinfecting everything. Or I'm sorry, not the Bidens, the Obamas. And disinfecting everything like this. There'd be a national scandal. We'd still be fucking hearing about it. if that was what the case was back in 2017. But no, it's okay because it's Trump. All right, keep going here. From thesun.co.uk, which is green check verified. Secrets exposed. Trump says he's pushing to declassify everything before leaving office and rages over Dem spying and treason. From Laura Gesualdi Gilmore. Trump shared a tweet from author Todd Starnes on Saturday morning that said, at this point, Donald Trump should declassify everything. I'm going to go not quite that far on that. He should declassify everything that won't directly get somebody killed. Because that is a big part of the reason that we have some top secret and eyes-only files that are going through the White House. Because some of the operations, if it gets exposed to the American people or the mainstream news media and then gives it out to China or Russia or North Korea or wherever the fuck else, that's going to get people killed. So let's not declassify stuff that's going to get people killed. But absolutely, let's declassify everything else. No more secrets. Hold the government accountable. Let them tell us what it is that they're doing behind the scenes. I have been doing this, I agree. He then went on a rant discussing President-elect Joe Biden's campaign and his son Hunter, among others, of spying and treason. If Biden gets in, nothing will happen to Hunter or Joe, Trump tweeted. Biden will do nothing, and the new group of partisan killers coming in will quickly kill it all. It'll all be gone. It'll be the worst. Same thing with Durham. We caught them cold, spying, treason, and more. The hard part. But justice took too long. We'll beat DOA. Trump has reportedly become increasingly frustrated with his legal team over their stream of losses in trying to overturn the presidential results. He is also reportedly angry with his Attorney General Bill Barr for failing to act over claims he made against Hunter Biden. Yeah, that was kind of fucking shady. Not gonna lie. So, and absolutely, let's go ahead and just get it all out there. Say the stuff that's gonna get somebody killed, but let's throw the fucking doors open. Let's see it. The most transparent administration in history. More transparent than that Obama administration, okay? I've got the most transparent. That's because you can't stop tweeting. That's still the most transparent. And they keep trying to say that I'm hiding stuff, but it's the most, it's the best, okay? Alright, from Fox. Black Lives Matter accuses Biden of ignoring them. It's demeaning to our hurt and trauma, from Marissa Schultz. Black Lives Matter accused President-elect Joe Biden of ignoring their request for a meeting and disregarding the black voters that helped secure his White House victory. Biden and Vice President-elect Kamala Harris haven't responded to the request for a post-election conversation and even excluded BLM from a recent meeting with civil rights groups, according to the group. For the newly elected administration that ran on promises of racial justice to ignore our incoming request to meet them and refuse us a seat at the table is demeaning to our movement, Black Lives Matter Global Network said in an email to supporters on Thursday in urging activists to make noise. Well, dude, make all the noise you want at this point. They got your votes. They got power. And they don't give a fuck about you. And I said the same thing to David Hogg the other day. Oh, well, you need to get you need to pay attention to the kids because the kids are the ones that got you elected. David, dude, this guy's been in politics for 47 years. And he hasn't done anything meaningful except for the 1994 crime bill in 47 years that his vice president went through and used in order to get free and cheap labor for the California penal system to fight the wildfires. Joe Biden doesn't give a damn about you or anything that you want. He doesn't care. He is another crony, warhawk Democrat that is out for nothing but himself. And if I wasn't seeing so many crony fucking warhawk Republicans out there that are salivating at the fact that they're getting ready to go back to the Middle East as soon as they can get the guy out who refused to start any wars under their watch, then all will be back right in the world, and dear God, please, I hope that little bastard gets drafted. All right. But these people think that Biden gives a damn what they think. I mean, Kamala Harris made a career out of putting people that look like the members of Black Lives Matter in prison for simple drug possession. You think she gives a damn about BLM? I got a bridge to sell you. All right, let's keep going. From ABC 7 out of New York. Cuomo accused of sexual harassment by former development aide. Once again, flip the parties. Autoplay. Go away. Nobody likes you. All right, this is at ABC7 News via the AP from Karen Matthews. A former aide to New York Governor Andrew Cuomo, who is now running for Manhattan Borough President, accused him of sexual harassment in a series of tweets on Sunday, saying he made inappropriate comments about her appearance. Lindsey Boylan tweeted that the Democrat governor sexually harassed me for years. Many saw it and watched. I could never anticipate what to expect. I would be grilled on my work, which was very good, or harassed about my looks. Or would it be both in the same conversation? This was that way for years, she continued. Boylan, 36, worked for Cuomo's administration from March 2015 to October of 2018, serving first as Executive Vice President of Empire State Development and then as a special advisor to Cuomo for economic development. She did not provide details of the alleged harassment and didn't immediately respond to messages from the AP. Boylan later tweeted, "To be clear, I have no interest in talking to journalists." Well, that's a problem. I'm not about validating the experience of countless women and making sure abuse stops. There's so much wrong with this statement. There is so much wrong with this statement. If you're going to make an accusation, you need to come with the receipts, especially in this polarized climate. Because right now, it just looks like you're looking for attention against somebody who is extremely disliked, too, by the way. Given that nobody in upstate knows what the hell is going on, and everybody in New York City is like, yes, Cuomo, please give me more boot. So, and of course he's looking at the AG spot too. They're talking about putting Cuomo in as the Attorney General. But if you're going to make an allegation like this, I need to see receipts on this. I need to see something for this. We need to go to the police, file a criminal complaint or a civil complaint, bring it forward, and bring it up, especially if it's against Cuomo. But if you're not going to talk to the journos and you're not going to give us the evidence, then this is a non-starter. I know a lot of people want you to talk about it because it's Cuomo and he's an asshole. But you got to be here and you got to bring me something. Something I can see. Something that can be presented to a court of law. So that's where we're seeing on that. All right. From CNN. Jake Tapper wants to thank Trump. Hear his message. So we're going to take just a brief bit of this here, and we're not going to go through the entire 5-minute stint of this. I almost skipped this because it wasn't an article. It was just a video, but you know what? It's Tapper, and he's a jackass. So let's have a listen to Tapper. Maybe. It's thinking.
Paraphrase and flip William Shakespeare, I come to you at the end of the show today to praise Donald Trump, not to bury him. Outgoing President Trump deserves our thanks for approving Operation Warp Speed, which helped to bring us the COVID vaccine. He has rethought trade deals. He has reimagined peace in the Middle East. He has pushed foreign policy consensus to put more of a priority on bringing U.S. service members home, even if his follow-through has been rather wanting. These are legitimate achievements. There are other ways outgoing President Trump perhaps inadvertently has done us a service. The relationship between the news media and the U.S. government should not be anywhere near as antagonistic as it's been under President Trump, but it should be adversarial. Maybe Trump has been right to not attend the dinners where politicians and reporters cozy up to each other. Maybe he exposed as unseemly something that should not return to normal. The president has also exposed the problem that so many of our standards and norms in the U.S. seem to be based upon the honor system. There isn't, for instance, an explicit law against a U.S. president trying to extort a foreign country to provide dirt on a domestic political opponent. A government upheld upon the honor system only works if everyone involved has honor. This seems something that legislators should re-examine. And then finally, let us look at the events of the last week, where the president pushed an insane lawsuit, the big one, he called it, from the Attorney General of Texas. It was a clownish legal brief based on conspiracy theories and outright lies. And 18 state attorneys general, some U.S. senators, and a majority of the House Republican caucus, 126 members, supported it. President Trump did us a favor by exposing these elected officials. They are definitionally people who signed on to a desperate desire to subvert the will of the American people, to disenfranchise voters in Georgia, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and Michigan, based on lies and conspiracy theories, putting an immoral and corrupt power grab above democracy. President Trump did us a favor by revealing to us that those individuals are who they are. And that's important as we go forward because the business of this nation continues. The pandemic, the economy, foreign policy, immigration, and now we know clearly how much these individuals care about facts or truth, how much they care about democracy or the principles that make this country great, which is to say, not at all. Since Election Day, we've seen Republican officials at great professional and personal risk.
All right, that's enough of that. That guy's a jackass, but it is, well, thank you for exposing the Republicans who are anti-American. This is Civil War talk right here. This is forcing secession kind of talk, and there's more of this coming out too. But this is the shit that's inflaming tensions right now. And I mean, the Donald is not doing any favors to that either. But there's a difference between tweeting this out and using procedures and begging for procedures to go into place to make sure that none of these people have representation. And this comes to us from The Hill, and I wanted to move this around and talk about this up here instead of a couple articles later when I did, because it goes right alongside with what Jake Tapper had to say there. So from The Hill, Democrats asked Pelosi to refuse to seat lawmakers supporting Trump's election challenges. From Jordan Williams. Representative Bill Pascrell is asking House Speaker Nancy Pelosi to refuse to seat members of the next Congress who back President Trump's efforts to challenge the election. The demand comes as more than 120 House Republicans, including Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy, have signed an amicus brief supporting Texas's election lawsuit in the Supreme Court. The suit is asking the court to prevent electors from finalizing President-elect Joe Biden's victory in Georgia, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, and Michigan. Stated simply, the men and women who would act to tear the United States government apart cannot serve as members of Congress, Pascrell said in a statement posted to Twitter. You are going to disenfranchise a lot of people from representation if you go through this. Nancy, you had better watch what you're doing with this one, because this is dangerous. This is boog stuff right here. I don't say boog lightly, but this shit is boog stuff. And there's the tweet with the official document that goes with it. Pascrell argues that the 14th Amendment prohibits members of Congress from rebelling against the U.S. and trying to overturn a democratic election, and install a dictator seems like a pretty clear example of that. Ooh, you are walking a fine line, man. Go ahead and tell 90 million people, because those are the districts that you're trying to disenfranchise right now, that they have no representation to the United States, including a bunch of people that voted on your side. Go ahead and tell 90 million people that because their representatives fought to give them a free and clear and fair election, which, once again, I disagree with the methodology of it, but I still understand the reason that they're fighting for it. Go ahead and tell 90 million people that because of that, because their representatives wanted to represent them, that they don't deserve representation, and see how well that goes over. That is a dangerous path you're going down, Pascrell. That is dangerous. Many Republicans have stood behind the president's unsubstantiated claims that widespread voter fraud cost him the election, and that it should be overturned, though the Texas suit itself has divided the party. Mo Brooks said on Wednesday that he would object when Congress meets to certify the Electoral College vote. And that's about the only procedure that you have left, is to see what it is that the Congress does when they go back to count the vote. But refusing to seat people, refusing representation to large swaths of this country, that is a fine line that I don't think you want to walk. All right, with that, we go on to the Daily Wire. Deborah Messing, in all of her Deborah Messing charm, issues homophobic insult to Trump. I hope you become the most popular boyfriend in prison. From Paul Bois. Despite being a proud and open LGBT activist, actress Deborah Messing issued a homophobic insult at President Trump, suggesting he would become a popular boyfriend among prison inmates. In a tweet last week, Messing responded to a note from World Health Organization chief Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus, praising German Chancellor Angela Merkel for urging Germans to stay home amid the COVID-19 pandemic. And by urging, of course, we mean firing a high-pressure water cannon at them in the middle of the street. America, this is a leader, she exclaimed, as this leader ordered her police to fire a high-pressure water cannon at people who were protesting in the street. By the way, Angela Merkel authorized the use of a high-pressure water cannon against her own citizens who were protesting in the street. Donald Trump, you are weak, scared, stupid, inept, negligent, vindictive, narcissistic criminal, she added. I hope that you live a long life in prison where you'll become the most popular boyfriend to all the inmates. Yeah, sexuality is an insult when they want it to be, and it's a completely protected status when they want it to be. And I bet you that if I'd have said something similar to some little Twitch spurg over on Twitter that's trying to call me out into a fight, that I would be reported, have my account removed, and finally get kicked off of Twitter, which I'm a little bit surprised hasn't happened yet. Some of her followers criticized her for the insult. Maybe rethink this homophobic undertone tweet, said one Twitter user. Love you, Deb, but please don't bring gay sex into the equation as something derogatory. I happen to be gay. You suck, in a bad way, said another. Nice tolerance display, especially towards the gay community, said another. Wow, you're quite the homophobe. You just put a lot of gay youth at risk. Thank you for that, said another. So, good job, Deborah. Good job, Deborah. You pissed off your entire fan base in just one tweet. All right, let's keep going. Especially, and this is the thing with Deborah Messing, too. I mean, she was on Will and Grace, which is like the gayest TV show in history. For a while, at least. I don't know if there's something gayer at this point. But that had to be the gayest TV show on TV for a good 20 years. And then she could still come out and say something like that. That's amazing. That is amazing. All right, from the Hill, Northwestern University rejects Wall Street Journal op-ed on Jill Biden penned by former lecturer. From Eris Folly. I got just a little bit more on the election shit, and then we'll go down to everything else that's going on with this world, because that's all completely fucked up too. From Eris Folly. Northwestern University condemned an opinion piece written by a former lecturer, Joseph Epstein, who certainly did not kill himself, in the Wall Street Journal that suggested incoming First Lady Jill Biden drop the doctor before her name, despite her having a doctorate in education. While we firmly support academic freedom and freedom of expression, we do not agree with Mr. Epstein's opinion and believe the designation of doctor is well deserved by anyone who has earned a PhD, an EDD, or an MD, the school said in a statement over the weekend. Northwestern is firmly committed to equity, diversity, and inclusion, and strongly disagrees with Mr. Epstein's misogynistic views, the school added. The rebuke from the school is the latest condemnation received by the op-ed in a few recent days. A wise man once said that no one should call himself doctor unless he has delivered a child. Think about it, doctor, Jill, and forthwith drop the doc, the writer wrote. Epstein wrote in the piece that he had taught at Northwestern University for 30 years without a doctorate or any advanced degree. He was an emeritus lecturer of English at the school, though the university clarified in its recent statement that he hasn't taught there in almost 2 decades. Joseph Epstein has not been a lecturer at Northwestern since 2003, the school said in a statement. The school's English department also issued a statement knocking Epstein's op-ed because, of course, they did. Spoiler alert, I'm not going to call Jill Biden Dr. Biden. It's just not going to happen. You know why? Don't give a fuck. You're not going to push me to compel, especially the fact that you're making such a big deal out of this, too. I love the Fritzcast commented out and got some backlash over this, over Hillary's tweet. Her name is Dr. Jill Biden. Get used to it. No, her name is Jill Biden. It's not Dr. Jill Biden. Doctor is her title. That's not her name. She did not go to the registry and have a legal name change because she got a PhD. And if this is what you're going to fight for, this is going to be the stupidest 4 years in politics. If this is what you're going to fight about, what to call the First Lady. Look forward to this kind of stuff. Look how cute Joe Biden is playing with his dogs. And oh, the evil, mean racists over on Twitter won't call Dr. Biden Dr. Biden. They won't call her Dr. Jill Biden because they're misogynistic. And oh my God. Look for that for 4 years. Because it's coming. So, we will see what happens with that. How many more of these do I have? Last one. Last one on the election stuff, and then I've got some stuff on some other stupid shit from the country. From Politico, Iowa autopsy report, DNC meddling led to caucus debacle. State party audit finds plenty of blame to go around. From Tyler Pager. DNC meddling combined with missteps by the state Democratic Party were the primary drivers of the chaos that torpedoed the Iowa caucuses earlier this year, according to a new audit commissioned by the state party. The report, which was distributed by the Iowa Democrat State Central Committee at a meeting Saturday morning and obtained by Politico, identified a series of errors made by the DNC, IDP, and the technology company contracted by the state party to build a reporting app to collect the caucus results that one mayor, Peter Buttigieg, had stock in. Weird! The February caucuses were overrun by foul-ups. The state party was unable to report a winner on caucus night. The mobile app to report results failed to work for many precinct chairs. The backup telephone systems were jammed, and some precincts had initial reporting errors. And we trusted these people to change the entire technology of the election over to mail-in voting at the snap of a finger. After that. Think about that. The state party chair, Troy Price, resigned in the wake of the debacle, which put Iowa's status as the first in the nation nominating contest in serious jeopardy, which is going to make every progressive cream in his or her pants. His or her, Z or Zer, or flea or fleur, or whatever the fuck else their pronouns are. They, them. I don't know. Why is the whitest state in the country going to be the first one to vote? Why don't we just do it all at the same time? Why would we do this? You know, this is a national popular vote anyway. Why is the whitest state in the country the first one? I'm so sad about this. You remember we heard that shit right about the time that Iowa caucuses were coming around. And then we forgot about it because the next thing we know, we were in Impeachgate. That seems like that was 25 years ago. So, that's what we see off of Iowa. Let's keep going from the Daily Wire. Warp Speed, Chief Executive Officer. Boxes getting packed and loaded. First COVID-19 vaccines arrive at sites on Monday. Are you getting your COVID vaccine, guys? Make sure you get your COVID vaccine. You won't be able to travel or go to concerts unless you get your COVID vaccine. Just you better make sure you go and get that. We will require it. You must get that. You must have the mark of the vaccine to buy or sell. This is from Eric Quintanar. General Gus Perna, Chief Operating Officer for Operation Warp Speed, called Pfizer's COVID-19 vaccine emergency use authorization on Friday evening a turning point for the American public and the pandemic, and gave the public a glimpse into the massive undertaking that would be required to distribute millions of COVID-19 vaccines each week. You can have mine. That'll free up another one for you. Because between the fact that this took less than a year to get to market, get tested, and no way has any idea what the long-term effects are going to be, and the fact that the government is trying to say, thou shalt be required. Sorry guys, I'm not interested. I'm not interested in the least in this fucking thing. When the decision occurred last night, we immediately went into action and implemented our hourly and now our D-Day sequence, said Perna, who noted that his comparison to D-Day was to signal the beginning of the end of the COVID-19 pandemic. Perna said that the U.S. expects the first Pfizer shipments to arrive on Monday morning and that the distribution process had already begun. Boxes are being packed and loaded with the vaccine, with emphasis on quality control, said the Operation Warp Speed official. The Pfizer vaccine will ship in special isothermic boxes, which have been designed to transport between 1,000 and 5,000 vaccines each, at the necessary temperature range for the vaccine, minus 94 to minus 112. I'm sorry, guys, it's going to be a lot warmer than that once it gets into your body. The boxes, which are equipped with temperature sensors, minimize the need to secure additional ultra-cold storage options for transportation. The AP reports that Mount Sinai in New York has been preparing for the vaccine by running mock exercises for when the shipments do arrive. And Colorado reports the Wall Street Journal. Some National Guard members have been trained to disperse batches into smaller ultra-cold shipments for rural hospitals which don't need the vaccine quantities that come in the more typical bulk shipments. Perna said on Saturday that the U.S. has 636 locations that will receive shipments across the country, and the first week's shipments will contain 2.9 million vaccines. 2.9 million RFID trackers coming straight from Bill Gates. The Operation Warp Speed official said that 145 sites will receive vaccine shipments on Monday, another 425 sites will receive shipments on Tuesday, and the final 66 sites will receive their vaccines on Wednesday. Still not taking it. Not going to happen. Give it about another year so I can see who's falling over from it, who's having their behavior change, who's having side effects for it. And then maybe I'll think about it. But no, you guys, you go first. If you want it so bad, you go first. All right, on more coronavirus news. Analyst Jim facing over $1.2 million in fines for defying New Jersey's coronavirus lockdown orders. Owner says, no author given. Democratic New Jersey Governor Phil Murphy's COVID-19 restrictions have now resulted in more than $1.2 million in fines to a gym for defying lockdowns in a recent month. I would have to check the New Jersey State Charter, but do you have the authority to do that? Do you have the authority to fine people, or is that restricted to your legislature like it is here in Wisconsin? Because if you don't have a provision and your legislature never voted or passed legislation to do this, then the owner of this gym should go back and wipe his ass with this fine and mail it back to you. Governor Murphy has thrown everything he possibly could to shut us down. He arrested my partner and I, given us over 60 citations, some of them criminal. He fines us $15,497.76 per day for every day we're in operation. Our fines are totaling over $1.2 million, but every single day. Frank and I open our gym. Atlas Gym co-owner Ian Smith told America's Newsroom on Thursday. The Atlas Gym owners have a drawn-out ongoing public battle with their local government in Belmar, New Jersey, over coronavirus restrictions. Governor Murphy has said the reason for limiting gyms is to stop the spread of the virus, but Smith argues there's no scientific data to back up the claim. $1.2 million. No. I hope the lawyer gets involved and gets this shit thrown up, because that is, especially, like I said, if this is by executive edict and this doesn't come from the legislature, then I would put my middle finger up through the fine and stick it up at the governor, at Governor Murphy. Because no. Gyms in the state have been allowed to open in a limited capacity since September 1st. Smith said his business has passed the 83,000 visit mark, with not a single case of coronavirus traced back to the facility. So, yeah, this is, this isn't about, it's not about the virus anymore. It's about control. All right, let's do a few more here. From the Market Herald. Not green check verified, but definitely something we need to look into. Data leak exposes Chinese Communist Party's link to global businesses. From Belinda Cameron. New data shows how members of the CCP are working for a wide range of global corporations and diplomatic embassies. The information obtained by News Corp relates to around 2 million members of the CCP, the party currently in charge of running China. China. The data shows how many members are working across a range of industries, including transportation and airline businesses, Volkswagen and Boeing, as well as financial institutions such as ANC and HSBC. Members have also been linked to healthcare giants Pfizer and AstraZeneca, which are both rolling out COVID-19 vaccines in the UK and the US. Additionally, some of the staff at Australia's embassy in Shanghai have been exposed as being CCP members, with the US and British embassies also named as well. Explaining the significance of the leak, a security expert explained that it was concerning the Communist Party had potential insider knowledge of government agencies and wider businesses. Allowing members of the CCP to work for such companies risks their stealing technology, providing intelligence to China on forthcoming weapon systems and capabilities, or on force structures built around those capabilities, the expert told News Corp. Imagine if a CCP member was allowed to work on the new Australian submarine project and got technical data on the performance of the subs. They would give the Chinese Navy a massive advantage and put Australian lives at risk, they added. Furthermore, and I want to take this just a step further as we talk about this. Imagine, if you will, for a second, an incoming president-elect who has the power of being the top diplomat official in the U.S., whose son is being funded by the Chinese government in order to launder money back to the country and put it back into his pockets. Imagine now what that would be like in the world. if that were to happen. With all of these Chinese Communist Party officials in top brass in all these companies across the country. You know, the head of the country that everybody else in the world turns to for protection. Now suddenly has somebody who has interests in China running the White House. And Trump wasn't perfect either because, he's got a secret Chinese bank account while he owns a hotel in Beijing. Tell me why that's a problem. Well, he's got a secret bank account in Russia. No, if you know about it, it's not secret. And he's got a hotel in Moscow. Kind of wish he wouldn't have had all those things because that made it a lot easier for them to lay the attacks on him. But all the same, we will see what happens off of this because this is something to watch, especially with the Fang Fang thing that's going on. All right, let's keep going here. From ESPN. Sources, Cleveland to drop Indians nickname after 105 years from Jeff Passan. The Cleveland Indians plan to drop the nickname they've used for more than a century, becoming the latest professional sports franchise to shed its Native American imagery amid accusations that its use is racist. Two sources familiar with the decision confirmed to ESPN. Make sure, with this going through, that you go out and watch Major League one last time because I bet you that gets scrubbed from all the streaming services. Or if you have a hard copy, watch the hard copy. But I bet you that movie gets really, really hard to find in the near future. That is one of the few movies I've seen, too, by the way. The organization is expected to announce the change this week, sources said, continuing a years-long process in which it abandoned its Chiefs Wahoo logo and committed to exploring a new nickname as well. The Cleveland baseball team. The New York Times first reported this decision. Cleveland has not settled on a new nickname, and it's unclear whether the team will be dropping the nickname immediately or will transition to a new moniker following the 2021 season. Following the decision of the NFL's Washington franchise. All right, hold on. Phone's going to die, so let's get rid of the Instagram here. Following the decision of the NFL's Washington franchise to drop its nickname and ultimately rebrand as the Washington football team, Cleveland announced it planned to undertake a thorough review of the Indians' name, which it adopted in 1915. Previously, the team has been called the Cleveland Naps after Nap LaJoie, their star player and manager. All right. I got 4 articles left. Well, 3 articles and 1 tweet left. So in those 3 articles and 1 tweet, I want to see your names for the Cleveland baseball team. Put them in there. I want to see them. Do your worst. If they are sufficiently idiotic, I will read them on the air. All right, let's keep going, though, with that. From CNN. Feds raid ghost gun maker whose products they say are linked to hundreds of crimes, from Scott Glover. First, there was home invasion-style robbery in April of 2019 that resulted in a triple homicide. 3 months ago, a pair of sheriff's deputies were shot while sitting in their patrol car. And just last month, a 29-year-old man was fatally shot outside of his home, allegedly by members of a street gang. The 3 streamingly unconnected attacks in Southern California have one thing in common. According to federal authorities, so-called ghost guns recovered by police during their investigations all trace back to the same company in Nevada. On Thursday, federal agents armed with a search warrant raided the company, Polymer 80, based on suspicion that it was illegally manufacturing and distributing firearms. The ATF's investigation is centered on the company's Buy, Build, Shoot kit, which consumers can purchase online, then assemble at home to create a fully functioning weapon, according to the 119-page search warrant affidavit unsealed Thursday in Nevada. Guns produced from such kits are known as ghost guns because they do not contain serial numbers and are considered untraceable. So, shall not be infringed, motherfucker. Such guns have drawn the ire of law enforcement officials in recent years. Yeah, if the law enforcement is pissed about you having these guns, maybe you should have one or two. As they've been recovered at crime scenes and in police investigations with increasing frequency. David Borges, CEO and co-founder of Polymer 80, said it was a big surprise when agents raided the company's facility in Dayton, Nevada Thursday morning. He declined further comment in a brief telephone interview with CNN, noting that agents remained on the property carrying out their search. Jason Davis, an attorney for Polymer 80, said in an emailed statement that the company has a history of cooperating with the ATF and will continue to do so, the statement added. In part, that the company takes legal obligations seriously and is also committed to vigorously protecting its rights under the law. No arrests have been made in connection with the search. So, from what I understand, and I don't know anything about this company, but from what I understand, it's a lower company, which a lower should have a serial number on. That's the part that's actually regulated. Your whole gun is not regulated by the ATF. It's just the receiver that's regulated. Essentially the action. Now, of course, and we had the debate back when I had the great gun debate with Robert from the Generational Gap a couple of years ago. That was one of the things that we talked about. And, I mean, you can keep rating these companies all that you want. People know how to machine. People know how to build things. And it's not even just... It's not just 3D printing, even though that was a big thing. You will never catch me in a million years firing a 3D printed gun, ever. I want to have a hand after I'm done with that. But I've seen machining equipment, sophisticated machining equipment, where a person could go out and freehand a lower. I've seen some talented machinists that could go through and freehand a lower for anything that I want. And then all we have to do is put a barrel and a stock on it and call it a day. So I don't know what they found. The article is not really forthcoming on that. It's more forthcoming than the other one that I found that I brought this from. But Polymer 80 is under fire because guns in Southern California are being traced back to them. And this may be one of the big issues that comes before the Supreme Court in a gun case. And I'd be interested to see where they go on this. All right. I've got a tweet from a friend of the show, Kenzie Puff. Everyone telling me to move to BitChute, and now they're talking about hope not hate, and about implementing new policies, even if this is simply lip service. It's not a good sign. Glad I didn't waste my time. For those familiar, without your continued financial support, we won't be able to continue our work in challenging fascism, racism, and hate in all its form. Donate today, and your contribution will be doubled by one of our long-standing donors. So Hope Not Hate is apparently going after BitChute and coming out and saying that BitChute has partnered with them. Now, BitChute has come out and said, "Ha ha 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 ha! You fucking idiots. We would never partner with these people." And I want to talk just a bit about that. Now, you can find my backlogs on BitChute. It's come to my attention that they're not uploading, so I'm going to go back through and do the process to make sure, because it's supposed to pull everything from my YouTube channel and upload over to my BitChute channel, which is linked in the description below, by the way. It's supposed to come back and auto-upload all that over to there. So I'm going to go back and see what happens with that, but let's see what Breitbart has to say about this. UK Labour set a parliamentary group with far-left Hope Not Hate. Over 30 Labour Party MPs have joined a new parliamentary group to support and champion the work of far-left George Soros Open Society Foundation's cash receipt anti-hate group, Hope Not Hate. The Labour Hope Not Hate parliamentary group will be chaired by Barnsley East MP Stephanie Peacock, according to an announcement made by the far-left activist group on Twitter on Tuesday. According to the far-left activist group, the new Labour group will campaign in Parliament on key issues and fight against fascism and far-right and extremism. Ms. Peacock announced her participation in the group in an article published Tuesday in which she called for action against far-right groups online, claiming young people especially are being radicalized on the internet. Peacock blamed unregulated online spaces such as the video platform BitChute and led the messaging app Telegram for spreading hate and misinformation, and added it has led to a spiral of increasing extremism and international mass murder such as Christchurch mosque attack. She also claimed that U.S. President Trump had embraced the worst impulses of nationalism and xenophobia. Oh, yes, no. Oh, yeah. God forbid somebody speak out against fucking globalism. You know, those globalists out there that are putting chemicals in the water, turning the frickin' frogs gay. And added repeated to very fine people hoax, which has been debunked many times in the past. While the new project is supported by the deputy leader of the Labour Parties, Angela Rayner, who is listed under supporters and champions, Labour leader Sir Keir Starmer's name did not appear on the announcement. No, Hope Not Hate is not partnered with BitChute. Now, BitChute is based in the UK, so they would have legal standing to at least argue against each other. But I'm pretty sure that the CEO of BitChute is going to tell the Labour Party to go take a long walk off a short pier. Defensively, of course. But, of course, any sort of left-wing group is pissed right now about the fact that there are platforms out there that they can't control and regulate. And people can have a voice, whether people like this Labour Party woman like it or not. There are workarounds now. And God forbid, people might start going to these other places too. Even the left-wing people. I challenge some left-wing people, like my friend Flancorp, to go over onto BitChute and see some of the stuff there. Tell me if it's really a Nazi site. Now, of course, you're going to be able to find some of the Nazi voices. I believe Owen Benjamin is over there. But you're starting to see gaming content and ASMR and homestyle content. The Purge is coming from YouTube. My channel is going to be gone at some point. And these people are looking for a place to go. And plus, BitChute is going to have streaming coming up soon. I'm going to start a Rumble page coming up here. I'm probably going to do that later on today. Get that started. See if I can set an auto upload to go over to Rumble. But Rumble's going to start streaming and BitChute's going to start having a live shoot. And as soon as I have the ability to do so, I will be streaming to both. So you can catch me over on BitChute as well. All right, last one here. From the New York Post, Gmail, YouTube, other Google services hit with massive outage. From Noah Manskar. Google services, including Gmail and YouTube, suffered a massive outage Monday morning that briefly shut users around the world out of their accounts. Well, it's fixed now because my tablet is playing the YouTube channel on this. The outage disabled all of Google's workspace services, including Google Calendar, Google Drive, and Google Meet video conferencing tool at the start of the work week, along with the tech titan's flagship email platform. Google confirmed the outage on its public status dashboard at 6:55 a.m. and said that it restored service to some users about 35 minutes later. The company did not immediately respond to an email asking what caused the problems. Yeah, this didn't really affect anybody. I don't know why this was news, but this was apparently big news that needed to be talked about. At 5 o'clock in the morning, local time, almost 6 o'clock in the morning, local time, YouTube was out for a half an hour. And for most of the country, it was earlier than that. So people working third shift were the ones that were affected. Everybody else, no idea. Had this not been a New York Post article or a Twitter trend, nobody would even known this would have happened. Except for a guy came in and said, well, I had insomnia, and I couldn't check my email while I was having insomnia, while I was laying awake and counting sheep. I didn't know about this. And I was awake at that time. I was trying not to be, but I was awake at that time. I was sitting up in my bed watching Deep Space Nine and thinking, man, it would be nice if I could sleep for another hour. Sure would be nice if I could be out on a deserted island somewhere with Ashley Tisdale. That's what I was doing at 6:55 a.m. Eastern Time. But it is back up. It's back going, as we can see, because Mad Cow Mark over there is watching this over on the YouTube, and I think Flancorp is too. So it's all back up and going. And that is going to be it for the day. And the last thing that we do, of course, is something that restores my faith in humanity, which is an interesting thing because, this happens to me from time to time. I've cited this before, and it still restores my faith in humanity every time. We go around right now, and we look back, and we see all these stores around us that are kneeling to the federal government and the state government saying, well, just put the mask on, okay? Because the governor said so, and I mean, there's no law about it, but the governor said so, and just do it. You can't shop here if you don't. And then occasionally, you're driving around, looking for something to do, and you see a clerk not wearing a mask. I forget where I was, but it was somewhere this earlier on this weekend. I walked into the store. I had my little neck gaiter on, kind of pulled up to my nose. Where did I go? I can't even remember where I went now. It was something small, I know that, because there were only a couple people in. But I went there. I saw the clerk just not even caring about it, not wearing a mask, kind of just hanging off her ear. I said, oh yeah, that's right, this is Rock County. We can get away with this here. Where was it? That's going to drive me nuts now. But anyway, I looked at that and I'm like, oh yeah, that's right, this is Rock County. You can better bet that your counterparts up in Dane County would not be doing the same thing. That in Dane County, they would tell you to wear 2 masks if they caught you without it. But the fact of the matter is that people are starting to push back on this. People are starting to realize this is bullshit. I read in one of the newspapers up in Waukesha County over the weekend that suddenly in November we saw the lowest amount of COVID diagnoses in the entire pandemic history in that week, which was conveniently a month after the election. People are starting to realize this is crap. That nothing comes out of this, that these masks aren't doing a damn thing. And they're pushing back on it. Which is good. We need to push back on it. We need to come out and say that's enough. And if you want to legislate the wearing of a piece of clothing, push it through the legislature. So we know who votes for it, and then we can vote their fucking asses out. But this executive order bullshit, it's bullshit. And I'm glad people are starting to look back at it and see. Now, of course, Dane County just kneels down and says, oh please, Governor Evert, tell us more what to do, because we can't think for ourselves. But down here, they are definitely out there. Oh, I was at the Ford dealer, that's why. Down here, we don't care. We put it on for show. And then don't wear it as often as we can. Because some of the big corporate stores still say, oh, well, you must. But, you know, when you go to a small business, they don't care. And that restores my faith in humanity. And you should be spending more of your money at small business anyway. And that's going to be it for the day here. So, we're going to head on out of here. I'm going to start doing the show prep for... Oh, wait, no, I promised if we had anything... any sort of idiocy for the Cleveland Indians, I would read it out loud. Which I don't normally do with the reading of the live chat. On a Monday, I usually wait for Friday to thank everybody for here. But I promised that if something was sufficiently stupid, I would read it on the air. So let's see. This is the longest contemporary yet, by the way. Let's see. Chilaga says the Cleveland non-aggression principles. I can get behind that one. Ron Helt says the Cleveland street bums. The Cleveland woke dumbasses. Mad Call Mark doesn't know who plays here. The Cleveland woke pioneers. The Cleveland Democrats. The Cleveland goofballs. And I think that's all that we have here. So, all right. I'm going to start doing show prep for the Red Net Show. We will be back here later on tonight, 5:30 Central Time, to round up the news of the week with my lovely co-host. Looking forward to that. She's got some submissions in here as well. She's taking a little bit more of an active role in what's going on this week, which I'm very happy about. So we'll get that organized, get that out, and get the show ready for you guys. Looking forward to coming back and hanging out with you later on tonight in the live chat. But if you can't make it, you can always catch us back at the same time tomorrow morning. That's going to be earlier than that was today, let's face it, because I was running really, really late today. But we will be back here tomorrow morning for more contemporary, because the news stops for nobody, and now the electors are about to have voted, and whatever else bullshit's going to come out of this election is going to come out. All of it's going to come out. We'll talk about it tomorrow. Until then, I'm Jay Edgar, and this is Contemporary.